Hello and welcome to DFS Coach Talk. I am your host, Josh Davis, also known as Crash, and I am here to talk about Week 2 in the NFL. Before we get into that, if you're new to the channel, if you would give us a like and then hit subscribe. After you've done those two things, if you would hit the alarm bell, that will let you know when our newest podcast has gone live. And then if you're new to DFS Coach Talk, it's a perfect time to join us. We have our NFL kickoff membership. So for $45, you're going to get the entire NFL season all the way up until February 12th, which I believe is the day after the Super Bowl. And that will also include the rest of Major League Baseball playoffs, and the first several months of NBA and any other sports we cover in the meantime. So definitely hope to have you join us here soon. We are going to give away a membership today, actually, an NFL Kickoff membership too. That same one I was just talking about during this podcast. To anyone that's not a current member, you are eligible. So hopefully you can win that today. And then we will, break down this slate here in a second. So thank you guys for joining me today. We're going to start off with a game-by-game breakdown here. So we have the first game at 1 p.m. Eastern, the Green Bay Packers taking on the Atlanta Falcons. Atlanta is now a -3 favorite. The line is at 150 in favor of Atlanta, has an over-under of only 40, so they're expecting a lower scoring game. Aaron Jones and Christian Watson are both expected to be out for Green Bay, so the line shifted. I think it was like 1 or 1.5 in favor of Atlanta, and now it's moved to 3. Next game is at 1 p.m. Eastern as well. The Las Vegas Raiders taking on the Buffalo Bills in Buffalo. Buffalo is a -8-point favorite, 390 on the money line, over under of 47, 70 degrees, 7-mile-an-hour winds blowing southwest. Then we have the Baltimore Ravens taking on the Cincinnati Bengals. Mark Andrews is questionable, but it looks like he will play. Cincinnati's a -3-point favorite, -170 on the money line, over under of 45.5, 74 degrees with the wind blowing west at 3 miles an hour. Then we have the Seattle Seahawks taking on the Detroit Lions. Detroit's a -4.5 favorite, -220 on the money line, 47 implied over. I almost said run total. I'm so used to doing baseball. Implied total, and they are playing indoors, so there is no weather. Then we have the Indianapolis Colts taking on the Houston Texans. C.J. Stroud is questionable for Houston, but it looks like he will play. Houston's a -1 favorite. They're -115 on the money line, a 39.5 over under, which I believe is probably the lowest or one of the lowest on this slate today. They're indoors as well, so there's no weather there. Then we have the Kansas City Chiefs taking on the Jacksonville Jaguars. Travis Kelce is listed as questionable, but he will play, so he'll be back. Big piece to get back for Kansas City, obviously. Chiefs are a -3 favorite, the -170 on the money line. This game has a 51 over-under, so it's the highest on the slate. It is 89 degrees, 6-mile-an-hour wind blowing to the south, so warm weather, two high-octane offenses, so this should be a pretty high-scoring game for sure. Then we have the Chicago Bears taking on the Tampa Bay Buccaneers in Tampa, -2.5 favorite for Tampa. It's a -145 on the money line, a 41 over under, 88 degrees, wind blowing west-southwest at 7 miles an hour. And we have the Los Angeles Chargers taking on the Tennessee Titans. The big news there is that Austin Eckler is out for the Chargers, so Joshua Kelly's going to be taking his spot. Chargers are -2.5 favorite, -145 on the money line, over under of 45.5, 77 degrees, wind blowing west-northwest at 7 miles an hour. Then we move to the afternoon slate at 4:05 p.m. Eastern. The New York Giants taking on the Arizona Cardinals. And the Giants are a -4 favorite, -210 on the money line, over under of 39.5. It's indoors, so there's no weather. Then we have the San Francisco Giants taking on the Los Angeles Rams. Puka Nacua is questionable for the Rams, so we'll have to see if he's going to play or not. San Francisco is a 7-point favorite. and they are minus 345 on the money line, probably one of the heavier favorites on the slate. 45 over under indoors, so there's no weather there. Next game is at 4:25 p.m. Eastern. The New York Jets taking on the Dallas Cowboys. Dallas a minus 8.5 favorite. They are the heaviest favorite, I believe, in the entire weekend. Minus 450 on the money line. 38.5 over under, so one of the lowest as you would expect with these two defenses. Breece Hall is questionable. He's supposed to play. Brandon Cooks is also questionable, but he is supposed to be out for Dallas. Then we have also at 4:25 p.m. Eastern, the Washington Commanders taking on the Denver Broncos. Denver's a minus 3.5 favorite. Dennis minus 190 on the money line. Another 38.5 low total here. And it's 81 degrees with a wind blowing east at 7 miles an hour. Then we have a Sunday night football. Miami Dolphins taking on the New England Patriots. Devontae Parker is questionable against his former team. And Miami's a 2.5-point favorite, minus 145 on the money line. 46.5 over under. 65 degrees, wind blowing south-southwest at 3 miles an hour. Then we have a Monday night doubleheader. We have the New Orleans Saints taking on the Carolina Panthers. In Carolina, the Saints are favored by 3, minus 160 on the money line, 39.5 over under, 74 degrees, wind blowing north-northwest at 6 miles an hour. And then the last game is the Cleveland Browns and the Pittsburgh Steelers at 8:15 p.m. Eastern. First game's at 7:15 p.m. Eastern, so it's only an hour later. 8:15 p.m. Eastern, the Browns and the Steelers. Amari Cooper's questionable. He had something pop up. I think it was on Friday or Saturday, and it looks like he probably may not even play. So that'll be interesting to see tomorrow what they say. Cleveland's a 2.5-point favorite, minus 140 on the money line, 38.5 over under, 62 degrees, wind blowing northwest at 7 miles an hour. So let's go ahead and take a look at the chat, see what everybody has to say. Coach is actually he's taken, he's kind of handed the reins over to me for now at least. He will be back during the NBA season. He's going to be doing some stuff, so you can definitely look for him then. But he's focused on his new career and just kind of taking a break from Coach Talk for a while. So that's where Coach is. But thank you for asking. He misses everybody tremendously. I promise you that. I just talked to him about a week ago. All right, so let's go ahead and look at the top plays at quarterback. Obviously, Patrick Mahomes is the top pay-up option. He's 8,300 on DraftKings, 9,000 on Fanduel, $39 on Yahoo. With Travis Kelce back this week, he's my favorite quarterback in all formats. We've seen in the past whenever, the Chiefs lose, he and Kelce usually bounce back, in a big way. So I think that's what's going to happen here. It's a rematch of the AFC not championship, but divisional game last year where Mahomes got hurt in the first half and then Chad Henne had to come in. So it's a rematch of that game. The Jaguars allowed the 6th most passing yards per game last year, and they allowed 223 passing yards to Anthony Richardson in week 1. So I think it is a very favorable matchup for Mahomes. And it's also Patrick Mahomes' 28th birthday. So we have that birthday narrative going as well. Tournaments, I like Joe Burrow. He's 6,900 on DraftKings, 7,400 on FanDuel, $34 on Yahoo. He got off to a really rough start last week against the Browns. This week he's back home against the Ravens. Last year he kind of struggled against the Ravens, but before that, in the previous year in 2021, he had 7 touchdowns in 2 games against them. So I think he's going to get closer to those kind of numbers today. Against the Ravens, it's a really good spot for him to bounce back, and I really like him in tournaments. The next quarterback option I like is a pay down or a value play. It's Baker Mayfield. He's 5,100 on DraftKings, 6,800 on FanDuel, $23 on Yahoo. He's going up against the Bears. They just allowed 3 touchdowns to Jordan Love last week. They allowed the 3rd most fantasy points to quarterbacks last week. And Mayfield was pretty solid last week against Minnesota. He had 21 of 34 passes completed for 2 touchdowns, no interceptions. So I like him in a favorable matchup against the Bears at home. Dillon, a running back too. Yeah, I think so. AJ Dillon has really the last several games. It seemed like he's really been struggling in that backup role. But from what I remember, from what I've seen from the past from AJ Dillon, is whenever Aaron Jones is out, then AJ Dillon usually steps up. So I would expect nothing other than that today. For running backs, Christian McCaffrey is a top pay-up option. He's $8,900 on DraftKings, $9,500 on Fanduel, $40 on Yahoo. He got his season started very strong last week in Pittsburgh. He had 22 carries for 152 yards and a touchdown. He was also targeted 5 times, and he had 3 receptions for 17 yards. To me, he's the clear top pay-up option at running back this week. So McCaffrey is definitely probably going to be actually more of a tournament build for me. Just me personally with Mahomes and Kelsey, they're going to be my cash plays. So I'm looking at McCaffrey more in tournaments, but I think he's definitely a cash play too. Next running back I like is Travis Etienne. He's $6,900 on DraftKings, $8,200 on FanDuel, $23 on Yahoo. He should be heavily involved in the Jaguars' offensive attack. It's supposed to be, like I said, it's supposed to be the highest scoring game between them and Kansas City. He had 18 carries for 77 yards, a touchdown, and 5 receptions for 27 yards for 21.4 DraftKings points last week. And I would expect him, like I said, to be heavily involved in the Jaguars offense again this week. The next play might surprise some people. He's probably going to be extremely low owned. It's going to be kind of a sleeper play. But I like Rashawn Johnson. He's $4,900 on DraftKings, $4,600 on FanDuel, $15 on Yahoo. He's one of the few Bears that had much success last week against the Packers, and he did get in the end zone, and he also caught 6 passes on 7 targets for 35 yards. So especially like on DraftKings where you get a point per reception, I do like him as a value play for sure. Next, we'll go to wide receiver. I like Stephon Diggs. He's $8,000 on both DraftKings and FanDuel. He's $29 on Yahoo. Had a very tough matchup last week against Sauce Gardner and the Jets defense. Still had really good numbers. He had 10 receptions for 102 yards and a touchdown on 13 targets for 29.2 DraftKings points. So he's at home in a favorable matchup against the Raiders. I think he'll have just as good, if not better, numbers than he had last week. So I really like Stephon Diggs as a top pay-up wide receiver. I also like Calvin Ridley again. We were on him last week, and in that high-scoring matchup with the Chiefs, I think he's going to be heavily targeted once again. He was targeted 11 times last week. He had 8 receptions for 101 yards and a touchdown for 27.1 DraftKings points. So I like both him and Zay Jones. And you can pair them together or play one in a tournament, one in cash, however you want to do that. But I like both him and Zay Jones today, really. My next play in the middle tier is going to be DJ Moore. He's $5,500 on DraftKings, $6,100 on FanDuel, $17 on Yahoo. He did struggle in week 1 against Jair Alexander and the Packers defense, but he's going up against Tampa, who he's had a lot of success against in the past when he was with Carolina. He's faced them 10 times, and in the last several times, he's had near 100 yards receiving. Last time he faced them was on New Year's last year. He had 6 receptions on 10 targets for 117 yards and a touchdown for 26.7 DraftKings points. So I think he'll bounce back in a big way and put up numbers more, like what you would expect from a wide receiver that they went and traded the number 1 draft pick for. So I do like DJ Moore quite a bit today. The last play I like at wide receiver is a value play, just a GPP only flyer type play is Jalen Tolbert. He's $3,000 on DraftKings, $4,500 on FanDuel, $10 on Yahoo. As I mentioned before, Brandon Cooks is supposed to be out for Dallas today, so he should be the wide receiver 3 for them. And they're going to see, Sauce Gardner and DJ Reed. So I think that should be a pretty favorable matchup for him compared to those two that Garrett Wilson will be seeing. So, or not Garrett Wilson, CeeDee Lamb and Michael Gallup. So I do like Jalen Tolbert as a value play as a GPP only. We'll go to tight end. Obviously, Travis Kelce is my top tight end. He's 7,600 on DraftKings, 8,500 on Fanduel, $33 on Yahoo. Like I said before, whenever the Chiefs usually lose, they usually bounce back in a big way the week after that. And it's usually a lot of Travis Kelce when they do. So he's my top tight end option, one of my top options on the slate in general. And then for value, I like Adam Troutman. He's going to be filling in for Greg Dulcich, who's out now for Denver. So he's min price or near min price on all three sites. He's 3,000 on DraftKings, 4,600 on FanDuel, and $10 on Yahoo. So he's a nice little punt play at tight end. Then we'll go to defense and special teams. Obviously, the Cowboys will probably be super popular today. Favorable matchup at home after what we saw, how they just absolutely shut down and destroyed the Giants. They're at home against the Jets, obviously without Aaron Rodgers. Zach Wilson, I think it's going to be a rough day for him, particularly with that pass rush. So I like the Cowboys defense. I think Wilson will probably throw a couple picks, maybe even a pick six. So I definitely like the Cowboys defense. I also like the Broncos defense at home against Washington. I think that's a very favorable matchup. Denver's defense has been playing very well, especially in their secondary. And they looked pretty good against the run last week too. So like Denver's defense. And then in GPPs, just because of their price, I think Detroit's a solid play. Looked pretty strong against the Chiefs, which I know they didn't have Travis Kelce, but I still think that the Lions defense is much improved over the last, year or so. And they've added, Brian Branch and some other pieces to that defense on the offseason. So I do like the Lions as a sleeper play in GPPs. Before we get into the props with Prizepicks and Parlayplay, does anybody have any other questions? Don't see any questions. All right, so my top Prizepicks plays are going to be Breece Hall. Like I mentioned that the Cowboys defense is going to be pretty tough, but they have him pretty low here, in my opinion. He's only at 37.5 rushing yards on both Prizepicks and Parlayplay. So I like them more than that. He looked really good, even though he was limited and still obviously dealing with his injury. Breece Hall looked really good. So I like him to get more than 37.5 rushing yards for sure. My next play is Daniel Whalen, more than 3.5 punts. Even, with the way Green Bay played last week, he punted 5 times. So I think Atlanta has a better defense. They have a much better secondary, better pass rush. So I think it's going to be a tougher test for Jordan Love in Green Bay. So I think Whalen will definitely punt more than 3.5 times. And then DJ Moore, more than 43.5 receiving yards on Prizepicks, and they've raised it a little bit on Parlayplay. It's at 45.5, but he's had more than 44 receiving yards in 9 of his 10 games against Tampa Bay in his career. So I like the more than for DJ Moore there. And pretty much the same on Parlayplay. It's Daniel Whalen, more than 4 punts. It's a little higher over there. Same thing with the receiving yards. Like I said, 45.5 for DJ Moore, and then the same rushing yards at 37.5 on Parlayplay. And if you haven't joined Parlayplay yet, I highly recommend it. You can join them with promo code CoachTalk, all one word, and they will 100% match your first deposit up to $100. And they also give you a free $5 play. So definitely check out Parlayplay. You can either download it on the App Store or go to their website. It's parlayplay.io. And like I said, I highly recommend it. And we post both Prizepicks and Parlayplay plays pretty much every day. I try to. So let's see. Any more questions? Dak or Burrow? Oh, I would definitely take Joe Burrow today. The Jets defense is very legit. So I think it's Joe Burrow for me, no question. Jay Blazing, are you a current member? I'm sorry, I don't know that, but are you a current member with us? Let's see. Not yet. Okay. Well, congratulations, because you are now. So send me an email, jpdavis1982@gmail.com. You are today's winner for the NFL Kickoff membership. So send me an email, jpdavis1982@gmail.com, or you can DM us on Twitter at DFS Coach Talk. And I will be more than glad to get you set up with our Discord. And like I said, you've got the next 6 months basically of all of our content. So hope you really enjoy it. Congratulations once again. Hope everybody has an awesome week 2. Looking to have an even better week than last week. We were solid last week, and I want to absolutely crush it this week. So hope everybody has an awesome week 2. And we'll be back again next week. Hopefully Steve will be back with me too, as we look to crush it in NFL, DFS, and prop bets. Thank you.